Welcome to the demo of the Point and Speak app beta from Acrobatics. My name is Gary Bartos. In this video, I'll demonstrate Point and Speak on an iPhone 7. The Point and Speak app will make appliance control panels and other physical interfaces accessible to the blind and to those with low vision. Point at a button with your finger, and the app will speak, telling you what the button is. In beta version 1.2 of Point and Speak, we will test basic user interaction. For this purpose, we'll be using a paper target representing a simplified microwave. Every tester, blind and sighted, will use the same paper target printed on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. For this stage of testing, a paper target is a safe and convenient alternative to gathering everyone in a room and using the same microwave. The video shows that for this demo, I've attached the paper target to a door with the center of the target at roughly shoulder height. To indicate which end is up and which side faces out, the target has a label at top in contracted Braille that reads, "This side toward camera." I'm holding the phone in my left hand. For this version of the beta, the iOS device must be held in the portrait orientation with the longer axis up and down and the circular home button at the bottom. The screen is facing my body. The back camera is facing away from my body and pointed in the general direction of the target. Hold the phone in a fixed position relative to your body and rotate your body left or right to point the camera. This is similar to locking up degrees of freedom when using a white cane. I'm standing just close enough to touch the target with my free right hand. My outstretched right arm is slightly bent when I touch the target. Detection of your free hand works best if the camera is at least as far away from the target as the length of your forearm. For the demo, I'll have VoiceOver enabled.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Accessibility. Settings.
If VoiceOver is not enabled, then the app itself generates speech. The demo shows two videos side by side. These videos were shot from different perspectives and synchronized here. One video is shot over my shoulder and shows the phone in my hand and my free hand reaching out to touch the target. The other video shows a live feed from my phone as I'm operating the app using VoiceOver. During the demo, and especially at the beginning, you will hear me talking as the app is announcing what I'm pointing at the same time. At the beginning of the video, you'll hear 6 because I'm pointing with my index finger at the number 6 on the target. I'll unmute VoiceOver and run the Point and Speak app on my phone. We'll hear the startup message followed by target found and target lost announcements as I orient the phone toward the target.
Speech on. Move cam selected. Point and Speak. Tab bar. Move camera a little bit up. Move camera a little bit up.
The app has found the target. Now I'm placing my free hand on the target.
6.
My fingers and thumb are all relaxed, and I'm holding my hand against the target
6.
as though I were about to push open a door with my fingertips.
6.
Sometimes my palm may touch
6.
the target.
6.
Next, I'll move my hand across the paper target
6.
so that we can hear Point
5.
and Speak announce what is under the tip of
4.
my index finger.
1. 2.
If I hold the tip of my index finger motionless
2.
on some text,
2.
the text will be announced repeatedly at intervals
2.
of 2 seconds.
2.
If I move the tip of my index finger over a QR code,
2. Bottom right QR code.
then the QR code will be announced.
Bottom right QR code.
If my hand blocks 2 or more QR codes, we'll hear the target lost
Top right
sound.
QR code.
Then I'll move
Top
my
right
hand
QR
down
code.
on the target again.
6.
And that was the target
6.
found sound. After an edit, I have my phone in a lanyard around my neck. The lanyard holds the phone below my collarbone. As before, the screen of the phone faces my body and the back camera faces the target. If you use a lanyard, you may need to steady the phone with one hand to minimize motion of the camera. Next, I'll describe additional features of the app. The app has 2 tabs at the bottom of the screen, the Capture tab and the Settings tab. On startup, the app loads the Capture tab to capture live video, find the target, detect my index finger, and announce what I'm pointing at.
9.
I select the Settings tab by swiping right and then double tapping.
Settings. Tab. 2 of 2.
Once the Settings tab is selected, video capture stops. Use of the Settings tab is optional for this beta test. The Settings tab has 1 switch and 3 buttons. The Load Saved Reference switch is turned on by default. This means that on startup, the app loads built-in reference data for the target. If you turn Load Saved Reference off, then you can capture a new reference image of the target in the Capture tab. First, I turn the load saved reference switch off.
Developer log. Review to reset all. Load saved reference. Switch button off.
Then I navigate back to the Capture tab.
Tab bar. Capture. Tab. 1 of 2.
In the Capture tab, I can swipe left or use a 2-finger swipe up to select the Capture Reference button, which appears now that I have the Load Saved Reference switch off.
Capture Reference button. Capture a new reference image of the target. All expected texts have been identified by OCR. Ready. Aim the camera at the target. Then put your index finger on the target.
Back in the Settings tab, below the Load Saved Reference switch, we have 3 buttons, which I'll allow VoiceOver to announce.
Reset all settings button. Reset settings to default values. Review 2 OCR images button. Opens a new screen to review images for OCR. Developer log button. Opens the log screen with developer debug messages. Use of these buttons is optional, so I will cover them quickly. Review. Reset all settings button. Reset settings to default values.
If you activate the Reset All Settings button, it will reset all settings to the default values. Right now, that would only reset the load saved reference to the on position.
Review 2 OCR images button. Opens a new screen to review images for OCR.
If we activate the Review 2 OCR Images button, then we will open a new page which shows the reference image as image 1 and as image 2, the reference image with the OCR results overlaid. I'll now activate it.
Image 1 button. Displays image 1, the reference image 2 button. Image 2.
The final button in the image screen is the Save button.
Save button. Saves OCR images to your Photos library. Save. Image 1. Settings. Back button. Settings. Settings. Heading. Load save. Reset. Reviewed. Developer log button. Opens the log screen with developer debug messages.
These debug messages are not meant to be reviewed unless you run into some sort of problem running point and speak on your iOS device. I'll activate it and we'll go through some of the messages quickly in the developer log.
121.5. Hand pose average cycle time in milliseconds.
This screen also includes some timestamp debug messages, and we'll hear a number, which is the number of seconds since startup, followed by a debug message.
Timestamp 0.000 seconds. Point and speak version 1.2. Settings. Back button. Settings.
The ink print target lacks tactile features, just like many real-world appliances. For Braille readers, there's a Braille reference sheet that matches the layout of the ink print target. In the top third of the ink print target are 4 QR codes arranged in a rectangular pattern. There are 2 QR codes at the top left and 2 QR codes at the top right. A QR code is a machine-readable barcode that the beta app uses to track the location of the target, and I'm showing in the video the Braille reference with the Braille for QR code. Centered between the bottom 2 QR codes, roughly a third of the way down from the top edge of the target, is the ink print text clock. This text represents the multi-purpose LCD display of a typical microwave. And here is the Braille for clock on the Braille reference sheet. Below the clock is a grid of text 3 columns wide and 4 rows tall. This grid represents the buttons of a microwave number pad. Buttons 1, 2, 3 are found in the top row, then 4, 5, 6 in the second row, 7, 8, 9 in the third row, and finally 2 buttons, 0 and start, in the bottom row. In the Braille reference sheet, the number pad buttons occupy roughly the same space as the corresponding text on the ink print target. The uncontracted Braille for the start button is about twice as wide as the word start on the ink print target. At the bottom of the Braille reference sheet is a line of uncontracted Braille that reads Target 14. That concludes the demo for Point and Speak Beta version 1.2. Thank you to Acrobatics team members, survey takers in the US and abroad, and the interviewees who have made clear the unmet need for accessibility of physical interfaces. We look forward to your feedback for this beta release and for future releases of the Point and Speak app for iOS.